Well, good morning. Let's talk about ribbons this morning. It is time to decorate for the holidays, and many of you seem to get stumped when it comes to ribbons and bows. So I'm just going to show you quickly how I tie a bow, and then if you're working with a really thick wired ribbon and maybe you don't have the grip in your hands to hold that ribbon, then we're going to talk about just some simple loops, and it ultimately looks as good, in my opinion, even better possibly, to do loops than it does to do full-size bows and a lot of things. But we're going to start with the bow. So the tail of this ribbon is pointing toward me. I'm going to just pinch in the center there, just grab it. So it's going to be all squished up. The key to making a bow is the front side of the ribbon you always want facing you. So if it's not facing you, the pattern, then you've messed up. So I'm going to make a small bow. So thus, one small loop. Now this ribbon's thin enough that I can just pinch it together. But now to get my next loop between my thumb and forefinger there, I'm going to twist, because see, the back side is not facing me. I mean, the back side is facing me, and I want the front side. So I twist it, and I just make an equal size loop. I twist again because there's the back, and I want to see the front. I come back to the center point and gather that. I want to twist this so that the front is facing me. I want to twist because the front needs to face me or face out. And as I add loops, I just get a little bit larger, just incrementally, not huge, because then you're going to get a really floppy, messy looking bow. And that might be what you want. In this case, I don't. I just want more of a tight bow. All right, I just want 3 loops on each side. So now I'm going to cut this. I always like to cut at a crisp angle. And now I'm going to add the tail. So again, I'm just pinching or twisting so that that tail, I see the front of it. And obviously you just cut it for whatever length of tail you want. Now if I were going to do a multi-ribbon combination bow, I wouldn't have added the tail yet. I would have added my next series of ribbons. So I always start with my smallest ribbon and work out if I wanted 2 or 3 ribbons to this. And normally, because of the color of this, I would use a white chenille stem or a wire, but I have green with me this morning. So I just take that and twist underneath the bottom of that ribbon. Whoop, see, I broke that one. I twisted too tight. But you want it tight so your bow doesn't. And then after you've got your bow made, then you just kind of fan those loops out. And that's the beauty of wired ribbon. And then I could store this bow, pull it out next year, reshape it. Might need to steam it, might not. You know, it's great to stick tissue between those loops if you're storing, or put them on a coat hanger and put a plastic covering over them to save them if you've got a storage space for that. So there's a bow. Let's say you're working with a thicker wired ribbon. This is a velvet ribbon. It's pretty thick. So it's a little harder to hold. It's going to get clunky in my hands real fast. So we can all make a loop. I'm just going to start with the one I had. I'm just going to make a loop. Everybody can make a loop. Well, there's my loop. Doesn't look like much. I'm going to add another color here, just another loop. And say I want a 3rd ribbon. Here's a real sparkly, shiny, glittery ribbon. That's a really wide one. I'm not going to loop that one at all. I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to grab it in the center, and we're just going to have really a tail. There's no loop. So now we've got 2 loops of 2 different ribbons, and then we've got a tail of a 3rd ribbon. And again, I wouldn't normally use green on this red, but that's what I have for the moment, and you'll get the point. So that's not a bow, but it serves as a bow, looks like a bow for the most part. And then you just come in here and start tucking it into your greenery. Wire it in there if you need to, certainly if it's going to be outside. So we know what our West Texas winds do. But see how pretty that is? And that didn't take any time, and it didn't take any skill, because it's just loops. You don't have to know how to make a bow. And then the other thing is, I'm going to use a different color just so on camera you can see it. Let's just start out with a good yard. That's a little over a yard. But when we take ribbon, if you take a whole bolt of ribbon and start working it into a tree or into a garland or into a wreath, you're just going to get a lot of goopy ribbon unless you cut it. And then when you cut it, again, you want to pinch it. When I pinch on this ribbon, it's because that's going to be an origin point. That's where I'm going to tuck it. That's where I'm going to hide it. That's where I'm going to start with placing my ribbon. So I'm starting up here at the top. We're pretending this is a long garland. It's actually a small swag. I'm pinching it again because I want to tuck it deep into there. Go back to the spine of the garland or the framework of the wreath or into the interior of a tree and tuck it. And even now, see, I'm just going to cut this. I'm going to go ahead and take this bow out. And now I've got my little tail left. I'm going to pinch it because that's my origin point. And I'm going to skip a little bit of space, and I'm going to tuck again. So now it starts to look continuous, but in a much more casual fashion. It's not continuous, but it looks balanced. But if you just were to continue to use one piece, it's going to end up looking like a slinky kind of. And then after you've put your ribbon in there, I like to place ribbon first. Then you take whatever ornaments or accents and start tucking in, and specifically where those origin points are, so you really do hide where you started, and you don't know where it started, where it ends, or where it begins. It's just pretty accent. So when you start overlaying on those origin points, now you have a really quick, easy tablescape, mantle garland. And then if you took your bows or your loops, if that were on a garland or a wreath, then you'll just place your matching or coordinating bows on your corners or wherever you're wanting them. And you have a finished look that looks like designer, but it didn't take any time at all. The key to all of this, in my opinion, is using good quality wired ribbons. If you start using, there's even thin ribbons out there that are wired, but they don't have the weight to them to make them really look pretty and quality. So when you're buying ribbon, consider you're going to get what you pay for. So consider good quality ribbons if you want a good quality finished product. So I hope that helps in some way to understand you don't have to make a bow to have loops on a finished product and make it look good. So hope that helps. And we're here at Stems, 82nd and Quaker in the Village Shopping Center. We have a great selection of ribbons. We have a great selection of berries and Christmas greens. We're right here in Lubbock, Texas. So come see us. And we are closed on Mondays. I don't want anybody making a dry run, but we hope to see you this holiday season, and have a good one. Thank you.